What's going on, world? This is your girl, Marky Lemons-Ryhal, and guess what? I am elated to be here today. And before we get started, I just got to tell you a little story. So I pitched Skylar to speak at Inman Connect. I'm speaking at Inman Connect, and then I'm having all this dialogue with the close. Now, I don't get a time to read a lot, but there is some blogs and things of that nature that I definitely read, including their email. So I'm communicating with them back and forth, and I'm like, oh, this is hot. I love that content. So you know what your girl does? I send an inbox message back and I said, look, who inside of your organization do you believe can provide value to my audience? And guess what they decided? They said, you need to talk to our girl, Jodie Cordell. And so I've been stalking Jodie now because Jodie got some good content. And at first we were just going to talk about divorces, right? And I know you're thinking to yourself, divorces? Yeah, baby, that's 3 transactions in 1 transaction. But I don't want to get ahead of myself. And so Jodie and I coordinated a interview. But let me say this. This is not going to be any old interview. I decided that, yeah, we'll talk about divorces. But really what I want Jodie to do is to tell us about what it is that she does. So Jodie, thank you for being here with us today.
Thank you for having me, Marky. I'm so honored to be here.
Well, you know what? I started doing more research and I realized that you have a company called Real Estate Writing That Sells, that you are a copyright expert. And I'm going to tell you what stood out to me. Not only do you write for the close, you write for Inman. However, you also write for a company called Dreamtown that is based here in the city of Chicago. And the reason Dreamtown actually stood out more to me than the close, right, is because Dreamtown is a pioneer to me in the city of Chicago. At one time, their website had the most buyer views of any website in the city of Chicago. But also their company is one of very few companies that ever did a Groupon, right? And so I know that they're progressive. And so if these organizations are using your services, I know that you're progressive. So tell me a little bit more about Real Estate Writing That Sells.
So what I specifically do is copywriting, which a lot of people are confused about what that is and what it means, but it's really writing that speaks to your audience, that it's basically selling without selling. And I love that this is a topic that we're talking about today, because I feel that a lot of agents kind of forget about the words that they're putting out there. And it's very important to really speak to your audience with the right words at the right time.
You know what? Lately, I have noticed that realtors are all over the place. They don't understand who their target audience is. Sometimes you question what it is that they're really selling. You know that they're not speaking to their target audience when you look at the product that they're selling versus what they're saying and their actual marketing. And oftentimes, as a realtor, we forget that not only do we want to provide value, we have to adhere to the Realtors Code of Ethics and real estate license law. So we're breaking rules and regulations.
That's true.
This year, I invested in a copywriter because even though I think that I have good content, I know that I'm not a copywriter, right? I know that that is not my strong skill set. Right. So if I was going to hire you as a copywriter, what would be like the very first thing you would tell me as an agent I need to do?
Well, the first thing you definitely need to do is pinpoint exactly who your client avatar is. And that's basically just describing who is your ideal client. Who do you want to be your client? If they're not your client right now, who is it that you are trying to attract to you? So once we kind of fill that whole scenario out, because usually what I do is I sit down with a sheet of paper and I say, tell me who your person is. How old are they? Do they have kids? Do they like dogs? All these types of things are important because you're really creating that one person. And that one person that you create, your client avatar, that's who you're speaking to with every piece of content that you put out into the world. So that's how we would first get started.
And the avatar is so important. When we hopped on this call today, I told you one of the reasons I love my job. And that is because I get to hang out with my girlfriends every single day.
Yes.
As a realtor, 66% are females, and that average age is 56.
Sure is.
I'm a 52-year-old female. But then guess what? I went and I pulled out even some more stats, because you all had a great article that you lined all these stats up.
Yes, 111 stats.
111 stats, right? Degreed,
yes.
Own their own home, right?
Yes.
So I'm breaking these numbers down and I'm like, okay, right off the bat, I'm a woman, I'm age 56, I'm degreed, I own my own home, and I know where they're most likely spending their time, which is California, Florida, Texas, and New York. Now, here's what's funny about that. I am considering buying a second home, and the 3 states that I'm looking at are Texas, Florida, and Nevada, because they have no state income taxes, and I can justify the cost of the home if I can eliminate me and my husband's state income taxes. Right?
That's beautiful.
So now I know who I'm talking to and what some of their problems are. So the avatar is very important. And talking about that is also understanding who not to talk to. In my recruiting strategy, I recruit a lot of younger people, because I know that I'm not going after the millennials, because my friends have all advanced degrees, additional designations, certifications, and certificates. And they're all earning substantially more money now in their 50s, mid 50s, than they were at 35, right?
Absolutely.
17 years can make a big difference in your financial earning. I'm just going to hang out, look, with my girlfriends who making more money.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And those are the people that you want to talk to. And it's really funny that you mentioned that these people are very much like you. You're fitting the same demographic as your avatar, because most people do. Most people's avatars, they want to hang out with people like them. So when they sit there and start breaking this down, they realize that they're actually just wanting to attract more people just like themselves. And I love that. It just takes that, putting it on the piece of paper for them to see it, which is fantastic. It's a light bulb moment for most people. And I love that. It's great.
Now,
people you don't know.
When I was doing my avatar research, I initially thought that I was always the cool chick who hung out with a bunch of guys. And when I started looking at my numbers, I'm like, oh my God, I'm not that chick anymore, right?
Right.
When I'm looking at 70% of my audience is female, but 80% of my engagement comes from women.
Yes.
So instantly I said, okay, what do women really want? And it forced me to go and refine what my brand looks like, because now I need to be more specific in talking to the problems of females.
Yes.
Not at the expense of putting men down,
no,
but being of value to the person most likely to do business with me.
Yeah, who's listening to you. So absolutely, you speak directly to those people. You're not excluding and you're not putting down anybody who's not your demographic, but your message becomes a lot more clear when you're speaking specifically to that one person every single time. And those people are going to hear you loudest. You're going to get some other people who are listening to you and understanding you, but it's not going to be, as often. So why not just speak to the people who are going to be listening to you already? Because they're there to hear what you have to say.
So once we define who our avatar is, what's the next step in the process?
The next step is to figure out what your actual message is. What are you trying to say to these people? And what is the point of what you're saying to the people? Once you kind of narrow like what your message is, what do you want to say to the people and how we want to say it? Then we can kind of start going forward with, because the writing part takes very little time. It's the research that goes in front of it that takes the most time. So you really want to spend 80% of the time researching and making sure that you clarified your message and you know exactly what you want to say and who you want to say it to. And then we can kind of start to move forward with how we craft that. And that's the skill that comes at the end, where I really come in, because most of the time I'm just coaching people through. Like, these are the things that we need to find out before we actually start writing anything at all. So that's where we go.
So there was one article that initially I wanted us to definitely highlight and discuss, but I think that this is going to tie in quite well to the numbers that we've already talked about. As a 52-year-old female, and I have a blended household. My son, Skylar, is 26. My younger son, Austin, is age 15. I had a child brought into the marriage, and then my husband and I had an additional child together. Well, I got a lot of friends, right? That look, and I ain't gonna just tell their business. We all are in therapy. I got a lot of friends we in therapy, right? I don't know what it is. Maybe it's that you've been together 15, 20 years. So everybody not gonna make it, right? We're gonna see some divorces.
True.
As a 56-year-old degreed woman, I just came through a medical crisis. I had 3 surgeries in 65 days. Heck, I believe menopause is here now. And these are the things I get to talk about with my good girlfriends, right?
Yes.
So when we go back and we start thinking, I'm a realtor, I understand that this is my avatar. I definitely say, based on the avatar, based on divorce statistics I'm seeing in my marketplace, I want to attract people to me that are going through a divorce or having problems in their marriage, right? And that, now, am I right so far in how we started with this,
Yes.
coming up with that article? Okay.
Absolutely.
So we decide that we're going to talk about divorces. One, I want you to educate. In that divorce, you wrote this beautiful article. What were some of the benefits to the agent for working with this specific niche?
It's really funny that you bring up divorces, because one of the statistics that I did discover as I was researching the close for this article is that divorces with people at 50 and older are on the rise. And I think it's people are kind of coming into this sense of, we've stayed together, but maybe it wasn't exactly ideal the whole way through. And maybe it's time to turn the page and start a new chapter. So this is a really great opportunity for any agent out there right now that feels that they can relate to people in this demographic and can maybe help coach them through some of the feelings that they're going to have. Because here's the truth: whenever there's a divorce with people that have lived in a home for 20 years together, there's going to be some emotional attachment to that home, because there's a home full of memories, there's a home full of emotions, and it's going to be a little bit more painful. But a really sensitive or patient or just empathic agent can say, I hear your feelings and I understand. Let me get you through this situation as best we can. And let's look on the bright side and move forward and turn the page. And this could be the beginning of a new adventure, right? So as long as you can be that shoulder that somebody can kind of lean on, but still keep an objectivity, because that's where things get a little bit tricky, is when an agent injects too much of themselves emotionally into a situation like that, because then one of the other two could get a little bit upset about it and feel that you're, favoring the other person too much. And you don't want to be that person, but you can still stand back, be empathetic, and just be patient with the people that you're working with, and try to show them that this could be a positive as opposed to a negative. And one of the things that I learned from doing this article was getting involved early on in the process. When you bring a lender into it right at the beginning, you can have the lender show the two spouses that financially, it doesn't make any sense for either spouse to stay in the home. And that makes a big difference. When you can get everybody on board with the fact that the home needs to be sold, then you won't have as much of that clinging emotional response later down during the transaction when it becomes a little bit more messy. So having those types of skills, where you're able to communicate with people in an honest and open and objective way, the agent that can do that is going to really, really find a niche that will fill their pipeline like crazy and keep their bank account really healthy from here on out.
So one, because you're talking to me now, right?
Yes, I am.
A couple of things that I identified with. One, my children are 11 years apart.
Yeah.
And at this point, the youngest one is 15.
Yeah.
So when he goes away to college, right, it'll be in 3 years, I'll be 55. Right. So I'm making a assumption here that a lot of people are waiting until their children get to either they go away to school, right? Yes. And the dynamics of the home change when you become an empty nester, or they graduate from school. So I could see that. The next thing, bringing in the lender to discuss the finances, to me is phenomenal, because everybody want to know, well, how is this really going to hit when we were a 2-income household versus if we become a 1-income household? What does that look like going into retirement? And then the next thing is, emotionally, do you want to stay at that house? So I have a few friends who have been divorced and remarried. Don't no new spouse want to live in the ex-spouse's house. Let's just get that right out. Absolutely. That is a very big issue. Not only do they not want to sleep in the same bed, they do not want to live in the same house. So that means throw the whole bed away, right?
Right. Then, throw it all out. Start all over.
Can we get a new house? And so when you start thinking about the emotions, I don't think that a lot of people can get past the current situation. Yes. Right? That you get a reset. Yes. You don't get the karma of the other person being around. And actually, it can reduce sometimes the attraction of other people to you because they think you're still holding on.
Yes.
So, because it was this emotional attachment part that stood out. So that means that we really are playing therapist in this situation.
You really are.
And the memory. So something that I would have never thought about in a real estate deal. So when you're writing an article and providing your services, are you coming from it discussing the pain points in order to attract, or just from the facts?
I when it comes to like if I'm dealing with divorce leads, basically is what we're talking about. I try to keep it more even keel. So I'm not trying to inject a whole lot of emotion into it, because I feel that if you come at it where it's more, you're just stating the facts, people can understand the facts. Now, when you start talking to people one-on-one, that's going to be a completely different ballgame, because you're going to have to be empathetic. You're going to have to recognize and acknowledge those pain points for the person that you're talking to. When I'm writing articles, I try to keep it out of the articles. So if people want a resource, they can go find the resource and read the resource from an objective standpoint. But when you're talking to clients, it's really important to not diminish those emotions that they're feeling, because they're real. And you can just recognize it and say, I see that this is painful for you, but let's look at it from a more objective standpoint. Let's look at it from the money. The money's the easiest way to just take the emotion back out of it again. Let them feel their emotions, but come back to a place where you can be like stable and objective and just say, it's just numbers, and look at the numbers. They don't make any sense. So that's usually how I approach that.
What I like is the research that you're putting into the articles. So one, I didn't know that there was additional education, and divorcethishouse.com.
Yes, ma'am. That's a fantastic company to look into, because here's the thing. They have a person that teaches all these steps on how to really work divorce leads, from a person who is a lawyer, who's in real estate and family law, and understands that this is something that's very common. And she has done all this research and has put it into this program, this education program at divorcethishouse.com. It's a fantastic program.
Okay, so that's an exclusive designation. And let me say this. I believe in education
Me too.
because the pre-license course does not teach you how to sell real estate.
It does
And
not.
and the only reason I am sitting here 23 years later is because when I decided to come over to the real estate sales side from the lending side, I decided to invest in the ABR, the Accredited Buyer Representative Designation. And it is the foundation of my real estate career. So for those who want to know, I definitely divorcethishouse.com, or if you want all of the resources, you should head on over to the close and type in real estate divorce leads. So the fact that we're starting with that education to me is number one. Number two, you talk about show the realities of keeping the home versus the dream,
Yes.
right? So,
Yes.
and in keeping the home, I think we kind of summed that up, right? People,
Right.
do people really even want to date you? Do they want to come over to your ex-spouse's house? I will tell you, when I had been in a long-term relationship, when I met my husband, we did not keep that bedroom set and or that mattress. It was the first thing that had to go, in
Absolutely.
addition to us getting a new place together.
Right. I mean, it's a new start. It should be fresh and new because you're starting from a new place and you don't want to bring old baggage with you, right? Just throw all that stuff out and start from a fresh new place. So yeah, 100%. That's how that should be how it is. So, but the dream that people tend to hang on to is that there's all the memories there, there's all the love that was there, but there's also all the negative stuff that was there too. And you don't want to people have this, it's kind of like romanticizing the past is what they're doing when they're thinking about keeping their house. And 9 times out of 10, even if somebody actually is able to afford it financially, 3 years later, they're going to come back and say, you know what? I had an idea of what it was going to be like to keep this house and to still continue to live in this house. And it didn't meet reality. And it's much harder to maintain a house like this all by myself. The memory is not as beautiful as I wanted to paint it. It's way more work than it's worth, and it's just more expensive. And now I'm house poor. So yeah, they come back 3 years later and 9 times out of 10 say, you know what, I need to sell it anyway after all. So either way, most of the time people either they can't afford to stay in it and it's better for them to know that right up front, or they do get to stay in it and then they realize it's not what they wanted after all anyway. So either way, most of the time they're going to end up selling at one point or another. So
Now, when it comes to working with divorce attorneys, do I just go and pick any old divorce attorney? How do what type of research do I need to do? And how do I start to build those rapports?
I think for meeting up with these attorneys, the first thing you probably want to do is study up on how divorce law works. And you probably want to go and just meet with some divorce attorneys and start asking questions and say, explain to me, like how a real estate agent can benefit you during a divorce. And at what point do you usually contact a divorce attorney or a real estate agent during the process when you're going through this whole process with a couple who is splitting up, especially if they've been together for many, many years. Some of these couples have more than just their primary residence to think about. So there might be a lot of transactions involved in this whole situation. So obviously go to Divorce This House to learn a whole lot more about how to do that, because they do have the attorney on staff who teaches you all of those things and how to have these conversations with the attorneys. But if you just want to go and ask some questions, start talking to some of these divorce lawyers in your community and just learn, like, what are the statistics? How many divorces are you handling right now? How many times do you need a real estate agent? And what can they do to benefit you? Come at it from a way where you're trying to help them have a smoother transaction. And a lot of times they'll tell you. And here's the thing, if you're worried about these attorneys already having real estate agents in their corral, there's a lot of transactions. And most of the time, the agents that they have in their corral, there's not enough agents there available to them that can help them. So they've got agents who are probably overloaded, because a lot of people, I think, overlook this as a niche, and it's a really, really lucrative niche. So anybody that's interested in learning how to do this, first step, go talk to some lawyers and ask them, how many agents are you working with right now? And what kind of things, if I wanted to start doing this, could I do to help? And what do I need to learn? And they'll probably tell you a whole lot of different things, and maybe even point you to some other resources. But then, yeah, just ask them, if I learned these things, would you be willing to work with me and feed some of these clients to me? And I bet you they probably have an overflow of people that they can throw your way. So don't be worried about the oversaturation of this particular niche, because it's just not going to happen anytime soon.
So a couple of things. One, I'm thinking this should be my new niche. And then if we couple that with the Redfin migration map, because we're seeing a lot of people leave the Midwest that are definitely going to those top states, the California, the Nevadas, and the Floridas, but they are probably also thinking about the states with no state taxes for the same reason I am. When I first got married, my husband and I had a total of 6 properties within our marriage. So the multiple transaction is definitely going to be a part of that divorce, contingent upon how you had things set up, how many properties did you own together, how did you take title? So we would have more than just where they're going to go in the future, but do they have investment properties? Do they have second homes? The older they are, the more likely they are to have a second home. And that would now become a part of that. And then who's going to be your referral partner in those other states if they have a second home in another state, and investment property in their same state, or global investment property. So
see how this can become like a huge way for you to make money very quickly on real estate transactions.
Oh, yeah. And here's the thing, that attorney can't service every state, because those attorneys are licensed per state, just like we're licensed per state. Yep. But the joy is that we can do referral transactions. Now, this is what I'm thinking, right? Yeah. And now I'm just going to be honest with you. I'm thinking about myself. I'm thinking that, one, to get the designation first.
Yes.
Then to come back and start identifying attorneys. Think about different events, meetings, things of that nature where these divorce attorneys attend. So then we can make sure that we put ourselves where they are. Yes. They're probably, out of the 1.6 million realtor members, a very small percentage actually has taken advanced education on this as a subject. So you might be able to aid that attorney in other ways. And then also think about those referral networks, looking at where might they own other properties. I'll tell you, in Chicago, they probably would own something in Florida, Georgia, Texas, and Nevada. Not so much California, right? Not for people here in the Midwest. So now if we put on our business hat, one, we need a copywriter to help us dig deep to find these resources, to have this type of article and resource on our website. Think about your email marketing. Think about your social media posting and strategy. Think about the video content you're going to create for your YouTube channel, your Instagram reels, your Facebook reels. I could see that if someone wanted this to be their niche, that they would take some of the money that they've earned over the last couple of years, because we've earned a lot of money in real estate sales, and they would start to pivot and think about this as we're now in a different pandemic environment. Yes. But people are deciding, do they really want to stay together? Some people had to stay together because divorce courts weren't open, and there was a backlog, right? Sure. So now as they move forward, you can absolutely be that person that not only handles that transaction, but also any of their investment properties, their second homes. You just made a little light bulb.
I know.
And see, here's
about it. It's like, oh my God, there's so much that you can do. So,
and here's the joy, right? yeah, we're talking about divorces as a niche for lead generation purposes in real estate. But as a copywriter, you actually write content for every last one of those strategies that we were talking about, from their blog posts to their email marketing, to their social media content, to their script for their video. Oh,
Right.
and because it's all coming from one person, right? The tone and the voice sounds the same.
Right. And that's part of my job, is to like learn your voice so it sounds like you, not like me.
Wow. So, I'm loving this. I am so loving this. Okay. So now we could talk on and on, but I don't know if y'all got this. And let me tell you something. To me, for most realtors, if we look at these demographics, this is a niche that you can handle, right?
Yes.
It's not like learning how to do technology, which a lot of us have not learned how to do. I did, but okay, but a lot of us have not learned how to do.
It's still a
This,
struggle.
yeah, this right here, this is doable. Like,
Absolutely.
yeah, I was thinking, and I am going to interview my good girlfriend, Amy Churu. I've been having issues wrapping my mind around the metaverse, right? I
I
think
know.
that this is going to top the metaverse for me, because this is so doable, right? I can make this
Because you're
pop and
talking to
happen in my
people
life.
who are just like you, right? You're talking
Yes.
to your girlfriends, who are going to, you can relate to them. And the beautiful thing about what I do, which is copywriting, is if I'm doing a good job, I'm capturing your voice and I'm bringing your authenticity to the page, to the written word, right? And when you're speaking to those people and you're hitting them right in the heart part, right, where it really makes a difference, then they start to like you and trust you, and they're going to come back to you and ask you over and over again for your advice, your thoughts. What do you think about this? And that's when you've got them, because they're now your friends, right? People start to like you and trust you to the point where we're friends. We're all good now, right? We're together. I like you. I trust you. I want to do business with you, and only you. So you don't even have to compete.
Here's what else is interesting that I can identify with. So I make a joke in my house all the time that I'm married well. My husband is a locomotive engineer. That means that I have a spousal funded pension plan. And the joke over here is all I got to do is breathe, because I'm the first wife and I'm vested. Even if I was to divorce my husband, as long as I don't get remarried, I am going to get my railroad spousal funded pension plan. So I remind my husband all the time, clearly I must really love and like you, because I'm not trying to go nowhere, because that check gonna hit me the same day your check. Wherever I'm at in the world, they're gonna send me my little money, right? So but also, when people are having marital issues, you will see that friends sometimes get divorced around the same time,
Yeah.
because they're having the same conversation focused on the problem.
Yeah.
When I met my husband, two of my close friends were going through a divorce. And I told them at that time, I can't hang with you because I just found the love of my life. I don't want to hear the negativity that you're going through right now. I can't support you right now, because now it has me having feelings in my house that I really don't even have, because you're going through the thing, right?
Right.
And so, yes, most definitely. So, Jodie, how does one find you, connect with you? Because you can make this whole divorce specialty. You can make that happen for somebody. You can make the whole pitch happen for them, baby. Have them on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube channel, blog post, email marketing.
Absolutely.
And as they're learning through that whole designation process, right, they can hone in on a different subject for you to do all that for them. So,
Oh, yeah.
how does one connect with you?
Okay, first of all, everybody can find me over at theclose.com. So go over there and check out all the resources that we have at The Close. We put together tons of resources for everybody all the time. If you want to reach out to me personally, you can go to jodiewrites.com. That's my website, and check out some of the stuff I do over there outside of The Close. So, but yeah. That's how you get in touch with me. You can also just send me an email directly at The Close, jodie@theclose.com. And I always respond to all. You guys read my stuff, and I comment, and I always respond to all the comments. So I appreciate all that.
And let me tell y'all, by the end of this year, I will complete that designation program.
I
Okay.
know.
I
It's
just want you to know that, because when I tell you, I feel this whole conversation all up through me. I can own that niche because I can be empathetic. I understand the memories, but I'm going to get the additional education and
yes,
training.
I'm
And
telling you.
then, oh, I mean, you just opened up a whole new. And here's what I believe about education and training. I got a bunch of designations and certifications, actually 64 of these suckers, and I don't use them. This is one I'm getting with the intention that I know it will provide
Right.
value, right?
Right. I agree. When I was reading about this thing, I was like, oh, I want to go get this designation like right now. So I have some girls over in my brokerage. We're all like, we got to take this class together. Let's go sign up for the next one that's coming up. So I'm with you, Marky, because this, I think it's not just real estate. It's actually really providing a really desperately needed service for people. So, and that speaks to me as well.
Yes, it is. So,
Absolutely.
guys, go find Jodie. You
Yes.
need a copywriter in your life. I'm going to tell you, you need one. They change your business. I have invested in one. So, guess what? I can tell you right now, it is something that is needed to get you back on brand. Think about this as a niche for your business.
Yes.
Guys, I want you to have a great and fabulous day.